Hi, Willie Hodgson with San Jose BMW here. We're here with the BMW Motorrad 2023 GS1250. We're going to go over some of the features as well as the 6.5-inch TFT dash. We're going to put chapter markers in here, so if you want to skip ahead, feel free to do so. But most importantly, if you have any questions, any confusion in what we're presenting, please reach out, call us. We don't care where you're from. We want to help you. Alrighty, let's get into it. So we push the button here. This is fitted with a keyless ride, so with the radio key in range, it will allow the bike to wake up. So on the right handlebar grip here, the top button we have is a heated button. This will control your heated grips or heated seat. In this particular instance, this bike is not fitted with a heated seat, so when we press the button, it turns the heated grips on high, which is 2. Press it again, turns it to low, which is 1, and then again turns it off. If this bike were to be fitted with a heated seat and heated grips, when you hit the button, it'll bring up 2 lines. One says heated grips, one says heated seat, and then you can navigate them with the little wonder wheel here. So you just rock it down to the heated seat and then rock it in to select it. The next button down is the mode button. So as you can see right now, we're in eco mode. If we wanted to change the riding mode, we would just double tap this mode button. One tap brings up the ability to change the modes. You see there's 4 dots there representing the 4 available riding modes. There are more riding modes available. However, we have to go into the settings and select them, and I'll show you how to do that in a second here. So with a second button push, it would change it into the rain mode. Rain mode is designed for wet weather riding or low traction situations. Detunes the horsepower, allows you to apply the throttle nice and easily without breaking traction. It also retunes the ABS and traction control for wet weather riding. On this GS1250, the ABS and traction control are both dynamic, so they would call it ABS Pro and DTC. And that's dynamic traction control. These features, which is so cool about them, that uses the accelerometer on the bike. So with ABS Pro and the addition of adding that accelerometer input in there, it knows when you're leaned over. It allows you to maintain your line when ABS is activated. The other thing in rain mode, it's going to set the suspension in a softer baseline. It's going to basically allow the tire to follow the pavement a little better, which allows it to maintain traction. So again, 2 presses on the riding mode will take us to the next mode, which is road mode. Road mode is designed for dry weather, road riding. Engine mapping has limited horsepower in the lower RPMs, full power in the upper. The ABS and traction control are now retuned for dry weather riding. It's going to allow more brake pressure before activating ABS and a little bit more aggressive on the throttle before the traction control is activated. 2 more button pushes brings us to the next mode. We have an Enduro. This probably wouldn't be my recommendation to have in your quick sheet. It gave us a little caution warning there that the traction control has been changed. And the reason being is in Enduro mode, you're going to be riding off road. There's going to be a lot more wheel spin and breaking of traction. So it's going to allow for that. It has a longer lockup time on the ABS in order to build up a little mound of dirt before the tire is released and rolls over that. They do have an Enduro Pro, which is maximum power all the time, and it deactivates the rear ABS. This allows you to kind of skid the rear tire and bring it around like you would in an off-road situation. So the next button down is your stop-start button. Up top here, if we push it to the top, that's your emergency kill switch. I have to point out though, one really cool feature of this keyless ride is if you walk away, if you did use the kill button in your garage and you forgot to shut your bike off, or you're in the parking lot, you walk away, after a couple minutes of no input on the buttons or anything, the bike will automatically shut itself down. Moving over to the left, pushing the cruise control over allows the system to be armed. However, it is still not holding your speed. A tap forward will set and hold the speed. So whatever speed you're going at that point, once you tap it, it's now going to hold that speed. If you're going down the road, you got the cruise control on and something happens, a push forward on the throttle will shut the cruise control off. A touch of the front brake will shut the cruise control off. The rear brake shuts it off. Pulling the clutch in will shut it off. Shifting gears with the Shift Assist Pro will shut it off. Basically every action on the bike will shut it off. Pull this button backwards, it'll coast until you let go of the button, and then it'll remain cruise control at that speed. If you just reach over and you shut the cruise control off without opening the throttle at all, it will begin to engine brake as if you have 0 throttle opening. So I like to kind of open the throttle, accelerate past the cruise control set point, and then turn it off. This makes for a nice seamless transition between cruise control and manual throttle. All right, moving down here, deactivate the traction control. So I jokingly call it the watch this hold my beer because most of the time the reason why you're deactivating that is not a good reason. But there are certain times and certain circumstances where you just want to reach over real quickly and shut the traction control off. Now, if we turn the key off and turn it back on, it's going to resort to the safest mode as long as you're not in one of the pro modes, and it will reactivate the traction control button. Right below that button, we have the suspension button. So a quick tap on it will bring up the ability to change the suspension. We can reach over, tap the suspension button, and another tap will allow us to add additional dampening. So we haven't got there yet, but the next riding mode, or one of the riding modes they offer, is dynamic. So it's gonna give you full power at all RPMs. It's gonna retune the ABS and traction control, so allow you to ride it much more sporty. On the front of the handlebar, we have our high beam. So if we pull it, it's a flash to pass with an indicator. And then if you push it forward, it will stay, again, with an indicator. Here's where the magic happens. So this menu button is really cool. So if we tap the top part of the menu button, it's gonna change this upper rider information display. So there is a ton of information from the factory in here. You can really fine tune that for exactly what you're looking for and what you want to have up there. If we press the menu button down, this is how we change the different functionalities. You can tab down menu once, and then you see my vehicle, tab down again. This is a general overview of the entire bike. So we see here that we have one message. We can see our coolant temp, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. The oil, it's got some dashes because there is criteria you have to meet in order for it to display your oil check. And basically it's gonna tell you if you have enough oil in the bike. Now the criteria, you have to have the bike up to operating temperature, side stand up, that way it knows the bike's vertical, in neutral and running. And then it will tell you oil level's okay or that you need to add oil. On the right side here, we see that we have a total of 6 miles. We got a service message. We'll get into that in a second. 165 miles till empty. What's really cool about this range is it's sampling every quarter mile based on the last quarter mile of riding and is constantly adjusting. We can see right under that, battery voltage is at 13.3. The lower down here, we see tire pressure for the front and tire pressure for the rear. Those sensors are activated with centrifugal force. So because the bike's not moving and the wheels aren't spinning, those sensors currently are not giving us the reading. So we see we got a couple pages here. So if we take this Wonder Wheel and we rock it to the right, we've now moved over one page. This is your Trip Computer 1. So earlier when I was talking about this upper rider information display, when I basically reduce that to just the stuff I want, which is very minimum quick reference stuff, it's all still available here in Trip Computer 1. I don't actually lose it. It just takes a little bit more to get in there and get it. Now, if I rock it over one more screen, I have Trip Computer 2. One of my favorite things about Trip Computer 2 is you can notice this little symbol here. If I rock it down, I now have the ability to set this automatic reset. I love this. If you're anything like me, you start the day on thinking you're gonna go for a nice 1-2 hour ride, and it ends up being the whole day and it's amazing and you want all the analytics. Where did I go? How long did I ride? And it's all right there. And with the automatic reset, every time you restart the bike, it's gonna reset that second Trip Computer. So if I forgot to reset it in the morning or something, it's gonna automatically do that for me. I love that feature. If we rock it over one more screen, we got the tire pressure screen. In the tire pressure screen here, one of my favorite things is it does have the spec in the bottom. These tire pressure monitors will come live once the wheels start spinning. If we rock it over one more time, we have our service screen. On this service screen, we got the due date and we got the remainder miles. So this is one service. You know, like many riders have multiple bikes and sometimes we don't accomplish, the mileage interval in 1 year. In this particular case, because it's a new bike, it's 618 miles till it needs to be looked at. And that's just the first break-in service. So we'll check to make sure everything's functioning properly. And then from there, your service interval on this particular motorcycle and all the BMWs, with that being said, is 6,000 mile intervals. So some people don't accomplish 6,000 miles within a year. So it's gonna give you a prompt and say, hey, it's been a year, we gotta bring the bike in, make sure it's functioning as designed to keep you safe. So again, that's one service, not two services. They just get reset at the same time. It's whichever one happens first. We rock it over one more screen and we have the service message. And essentially this could be all kinds of different messages, but at this particular time, it's saying that it's time to bring your bike in for service, that the service is due. So anytime you drop below 1,000 miles, it's gonna start telling you, hey, it's time to plan for a service. That way it's not, you're not having to stop everything and do it right then and there, giving you a little bit of a heads up. All right, we'll bring it back to the first screen here because it remembers where we left it, and we'll tab up to the menu again, and we can change some features here. So you notice the navigation is grayed out. That's because we do not have a phone paired currently to the bike. Same with media. Without a phone, I can't send anything there. Really nice though, if you have a, between the two of these, or something I should point out, navigation can be used without a headset because it can show you visual cues of where you're going. However, when we get over into media, it needs a headset to send it to. This bike obviously doesn't have any external speakers. It has to have somewhere to relay it to, so that would be a headset. I highly recommend it because this next feature, the telephone, if someone calls me when I'm riding, it tells me who's calling. I got a red X and a green check, so depending on what action I'd like to take. So if we rock it over to the settings, this is where we can kind of tune this bike the way we want. So the first thing we see is vehicle settings. So a rock to the right, again, will allow us to enter that. So riding mode presentation, this is where I was referencing earlier. We can kind of present the modes that we want for the type of riding we're doing. So I typically, because it's so easy to get in here, I don't have anything like Enduro. That's such a small percentage of my riding. I would just quickly go into the dash and change it to Enduro in those circumstances. And I would substitute something like Dynamic. I referenced that earlier. Dynamic is more of like the sport mode for the bike. So you're gonna get a nice crisp throttle, full power all the time. The suspension is going to be set in a stiffer dampening setting to really control the chassis well. And the ABS and traction control, they're going to take another step backwards and release a little more control to me, allow a little bit more of a wheelie, a little bit more of a slide before it kicks in to support me. For this informational purposes, let's turn Eco off for a second so we have the ability to select Dynamic Pro. Once I select Dynamic Pro, this is really cool on this bike, I can go into configuration and I can now actually custom tune how this bike works in many ways for that mode. So Dynamic Pro is infinitely adjustable for what your needs are. So you can see right here, engine. If we rock it over for engine, this is how we can adjust the engine performance. So we could lower it down and make it where the engine's performing more like a road mode, so a little bit reduced horsepower, easier application of the throttle. Really, really cool. The one heads up I'll give you is actually to select that, we have to rock it over. If I rock it back, look, it stayed in dynamic. So if I rock it forward and I want to make a change and I roll it down to road, you have to remember to rock it over to the right. The dot's the indicator that it's now accepted that. And now when I rock it back to this mode, you can see now it is in the road mode. So we don't forget, put it back to where it was. Oh, sorry, that direction. We'll okay it, we'll rock back. So now the traction control, same thing. You know, in Dynamic Pro, it's gonna, you know, this is designed for pro riding, typically, you know, off-road, and I don't mean off-road dirt, but closed circuit type of riding. Or you might have really specific riding needs and this could be the mode for you, but that is the idea behind the Pro modes. Go to ABS. Again, we can adjust ABS and how it performs in here really easy. So this is really cool the way they allow you to kind of tune the bike exactly the way you would want. We got Enduro, we got Enduro Pro. When you select Enduro Pro, it's going to deactivate the rear ABS. That way you can skid the rear tire around, kind of tighten up some of those turns, manipulate the bike a little bit more in the off-road riding. And again, it's going to give you full power even in an off-road situation in Enduro Pro. In fact, why not take the opportunity to do it? All right, so go down to Enduro Pro, we'll activate that, roll it down to configuration, rock it in again, and you can see we have all the same kind of stuff that were available in those other modes. However, I think the word Enduro says it, but this is really aimed at off-road riding. In the vehicle settings still, we have RDC, so this is tire pressure monitoring. And so you're able to turn the target tire pressure off. If maybe you're running a lower pressure for off-road riding, you just rock it over, it'll shut the warning off so you now can run whatever pressure you want without the bike alerting you that you've got low tire pressure. We roll it down one more time, we have lights. This bike has the ability to do comfort turn signals. What that means is it's an auto canceling. So we roll it down one more time, we got Hill Start Control Pro is that you have the ability to do manual or auto. So when you rock it over, everyone loves this feature, it works really well. I tend to recommend the manual because the auto can catch you by surprise. The way it works is when it's activated, you just do a squeeze and release of the front brake and you can see the indicator up here. It is crossed out because the bike's not running. We're on the center stand in the showroom here. However, if you were up on a hill or something, you came up to a light, stopped on a hill, whatever, a squeeze and release of the front brake we'll turn it on. It will remain on. I think it's amber, maybe even green when it's active. And what it's doing is it's applying a little bit of rear brake pressure, so you can not worry about the brake and you can just focus on applying the throttle and easing the clutch out. You know, this is probably more helpful when you're loaded down with bags and a passenger and, you know, you're in a precarious, maybe steep situation. It really makes it nice. It's pro tip, also really helpful when loading into the truck. You can get it up the ramp, do a quick little squeeze, it'll hold it on the ramp, and then you can climb in the truck and then continue loading. So helpful in many riding and non-riding circumstances. So that's it for the vehicle settings. If we go back now, we got system settings. So again, to activate it or to enter it, we just rock it over to the right. We can change the date and time. We got units and language, pretty self-explanatory. Under connections here, this is where we can connect our phone and our helmet headsets. So again, to select it, we just rock it over to the right. BMW uses an app called BMW Motorrad Connected. It's in all the app stores, whether you're using Android or Apple. If we want to add this bike, you just go over to the 3 buttons over here. I'll tap My Garage, brings up the bikes I have in there. We'll hit a plus. Now from this screen here, we're going to jump over to somewhere in here, the settings screen, and just go to our Bluetooth. Scroll to the bottom here. Once I rock the bike over to select pairing a new phone, we'll rock it one more time. It's going to start searching for the device. We can see it came up here, this ICC 6.5. We'll select it. Once the bike and the phone are happy and getting ready, they'll ask us to pair it. So we'll just tap the pair button right here. We'll rock it over to confirm it. Now the two are confirmed. I'm going to hit allow. This is asking me can I access your contacts? If you allow it to do your contacts, it's going to tell you right in the middle of the screen who's calling, give you a red X or a green check, and you can either rock it to the right to accept it or rock it to the left to ignore it. Another cool feature you noticed now that the phone's paired up is this white box in the top. So what that's an indication of, it'll give you the speed limit on the current road you're on. Now that we're paired up, we can get out of that screen and go back to the home screen. How cool is that? Now pulls a picture into the bike. It's got the right color for this particular bike. It knows that. Let's exit out of this screen. We'll go back to the home screen for a second. The directions feature, we just tap the next button over here or the next little tab. So one thing I want to point out is when you're getting directions and using the turn-by-turn on the dash, it does have to be done through the BMW Motorrad Connected App. And so from here, all we would have to do is just tap the search button, and we could do something like go to Champion Koi. Now, before we hit go, we can hit the options button here, and it's going to allow us to kind of select the type of ride we'd like to do. We can change it. We can say, oh, we want to do the windiest road and move it all the way over. So it allows us to kind of tailor the ride to our needs for the day. Once we've kind of set that up the way we want, we just go ahead and hit go. It's going to throw up the route guidance there. You notice how it showed you for a quick second and then it disappeared. What's kind of cool about this is you can be in this home screen and be riding along, and it's just going to pop the commands up in the upper corner. If you want it present all the time, we go over to the navigation, and you can see now that it's not grayed out because the phone's paired. We can have it in this screen the entire time we're getting navigation. And something important I should point out as well is now you see a phone logo, you also see a battery for the phone, and you see a reception. And that's important because we are using satellite navigation. That's why this bike still has a navigator cradle. I highly recommend the navigator in partnership with Garmin and BMW. So if we were to cancel this ride, again, you see the X there, we would just rock it towards the X, and we can go down, cancel the guidance, we'll rock it over, we canceled it. And if there's no navigation selected, we just got a compass on the dash. Now you notice this little symbol also matches the symbol here on the button. If we tab down, we can not use our phone and still select navigation. So we come over, we'd rock it over for new destination. We can rock it over for recent destinations. So now you have the full guidance there, never had to get your phone out. So the more you use it, the more kind of destinations you have in there, the more favorites you set in your navigation or in the dash here, the easier it becomes to use. We talked about the navigation, and then this third button over here is our ride recording. So you can see that I have 2 rides here recorded. We can go to this upper one here, select it, shows me the kind of ride I did. We can see all kinds of cool stuff. So you can tell here towards the end of the ride, it was getting pretty sporty. We had a couple of ABS interventions, which is really awesome. If the traction control ever kicked on, it would show you that as well. So as we kind of drag this screen and move it over, it shows where we're at in the ride. Next tab over shows us max lean angle left, max lean angle right, accelerometer, decelerometer, I mean, so fun to share this with your friends. Did go over connections, let's get down to the display. If we rock it over for display to the right here, there is a photo cell built into the dash, so it's gonna constantly be adjusting to the ambient light. The status lane content, we spoke about this earlier where I was talking about the information up here. I really like to minimize mine, so I'm just getting the quick reference stuff I wanna see. So typically fuel tank level, okay, I'll leave that, and I just get rid of the rest of this. I'm just reducing it off that upper line. I can always go into Trip Computer 1 and Trip Computer 2 to get that information. Again, I love that tire pressure. So now that we've made the changes, a long press on the upper button will bring us back to our home screen. We can see we now have tire pressure. One tab up brings us to range. Next tab's the fuel tank. So I've reduced it to these 3 items because I think that these are the kind of quick stuff that I want at a finger's push. Under display, the speed limit info. So if this is something that you don't want, you find it annoying or distracting, rock it over, you see it disappears. That information is taken from your phone now that your phone's paired, so you'll only see that up there when the phone is paired. We hope you found this video helpful. Most importantly, everyone here at San Jose BMW is an expert on the BMW models, so please feel free to reach out. We'll put links in the description, and as BMW would say, make life a ride.